闇の中では法力を持たぬ人間の位置は捉えられぬと。だが即
10年この時のために鍛えた。決着だ、バネッサ。
世の負けだ。うるさは貴様にくれてやる。
One of the things I find really entertaining about Why Does Nobody Remember Me, and that includes episode number 4, which we just got done watching, is every time Kai refers to Sid, like, watch me, Sid, watch me, Sid. It's like, he's basically telling himself to watch himself. In no way, shape, or form do I think that this anime is so deep and so complex that Sid isn't actually just Kai from like a different alternate timeline that he doesn't quite remember, as they've already introduced the world reincarnation program and zero magic and stuff like that, which basically just means, you know, materialization of manipulation of magic. And it's even further, not executed, but it's even further like affirmed in my mind with the fact that Sid in this alternate timeline, which Kai is from, left the sword, you know, the code holder sword with Vanessa to guard for whatever reason. And then he didn't die, but he disappeared essentially. So again, it just kind of leads me to believe that Kai is in fact Sid, just like an alternate version of him. And everything that he's doing or will do is leading to the history that he knows. So it's kind of like he's traveled into an alternate past dimension, but, you know, he's from the future. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I got. And then as all of these things continue to occur, the secondary thought I have is like, okay, well, what's happening or has happened or is going to happen in the world that he's from? Regardless, you know, I'm not going to get into the weeds about that. But every time that Rene looks at him and she has those Sid flashbacks, I'm like, yeah, you're having those flashbacks, you know, with your incomplete memory, you know, anime and, you know, manga, anime, you know, idealism or like perfect scenario, you know, because Kai is in fact Sid, you know, just without the hood or whatever, you know, Mr. Hood over there. So I called it. With episode 4, you know, with Vanessa, one of the things I had said, I think last week, maybe the week before, maybe both weeks, was that I think Vanessa will be recruited, you know, into what they're doing and stuff. And I was wrong, but I feel like I wasn't entirely wrong, because at the end, you know, once they finally beat Vanessa, also, I think this episode takes the cake for longest monologue of the season. Like the amount of time that Vanessa and Kai didn't fight is insanity, but they monologued for like the longest time ever, and then they finally had the fight. But at the end of it, you know, Vanessa finally begins to remember, and she's telling Kai about, you know, the zero code and the story about her and Sid, and the fact that she is actually the same Vanessa from that prior timeline. She just didn't quite remember that she was the same Vanessa from that timeline. So that means that Jean or Jeannie is probably the same Jean or Jeannie, whatever her name is, from that timeline as well, too. Potentially? You know, it's so hard to say definitively, but she goes on and she disappears. And the reason I said I'm wrong, and I was wrong, but I'm right, is at the end, you know, when Vanessa finally, you know, disappears, she was like, Kai, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna suck you like a succubus could, you know what I mean? Like, she's like, I'm gonna love you like a succubus. She's like, I'm gonna give you that glock glock. And I was like, dang, girl, you go crazy. And I found that, you know, funny. And the other thing that I found interesting or funny as well, too, is when Vanessa died, unlike other things, she didn't die in the sense of like she just kind of like her body was there and she croaked and she bled out, but she like digitalized, materialized. So again, that kind of leads me to believe, like, is this some kind of like simulation or something? Because she was bleeding originally, so she definitely did bleed and, you know, was dying or whatever. But he seemingly cut her in half, but didn't. But then she decided to like spiritualize, magicule, digitalize. There was something going on there to where she just didn't die, which is very weird. and she's like, I'll be back kind of thing. And it's like, well, how, you know what I mean? Like, so many questions there as well too about, you know, death in this world as well. And I think that's kind of where the main problem in the show is like, it's, how do you say? It's definitely a show that just kind of keeps pushing forward. And as it introduces things or elements or characters or what ifs, it very much doesn't want you to think or question any of it, because as you do, it begins to kind of all fall apart. And a lot of shows tend to do this. And I'm always wondering, like, you know, not why, because I guess I know why. You know, a lot of times, you know, you're just writing a story and you may either not know the reason behind it, you may have not come up with it yet, or like you're like in progress of, you know, figuring out, okay, XYZ happened. Eventually I gotta tell the reader or the viewer why, but I'm not quite there yet. So sometimes you're just kind of like suspended in that mystery until the author figures out, okay, well, why did that happen? Why did this happen? You know? And I feel like that's kind of how you get into like an MCU situation, to where like you're building out all these multiverses and timelines and things and rules, and then, you know, but they kind of like overcome one another. So I kind of feel like that's where we are with Why Does Nobody Remember Me? This world is very much one that like you can't overthink anything, because then it begins to fall apart a bit. And then I guess the other part of the show too is like I'm not bored by it at all. I think it's an okay show. I think this is the epitome or epitome of an okay anime. It's watchable. It's something maybe you could throw on while you're eating. You know, it's a watchable show, but it's not writing checks for any, you know, for writing or for characters or for art or for sakuga. Because even the fight was like whatever. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I kind of feel like if we think about the fight with Sid or with Kai and with Vanessa, and then with Rene, you know, Rene showed her power. She failed. Kai came back to life, I guess, or whatever, you know, because he was like, he blocked his sword, but he was bleeding out, but then he stopped bleeding out, you know. Again, anime, just, you know, don't worry about it. You know, don't worry about how he stopped bleeding out. But then Vanessa, you know, when the system came down, like the magic that she did was so overwhelming. And I kind of hate when anime does this too. It's like they show a villain or the antagonist in that moment, and they do something like they exude some power that is so ferociously overwhelming. But then when the MC fights, they do something that is comparable but not the same. And it basically gives the MC like a window or something to open. And I'm just like, okay, well, if she could so easily, overwhelmingly beat the system, why is Kai, you know, or whatever, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just, it's fine. Anyways, episode number 4, 6 out of 10, I think it was. And then now they're going to go fight, you know, every other race, because of course they are, to go find out more about the world. And yeah, I'm hot and cold on the show. You know, I like Rene. She's hot. You know what I mean? So it's fine. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below, my friends. I'll see you guys next week. Interested to read your vibes. All right. Peace.